welcome to another installment of Ted Excellence, the show in which clothing makes the man. And that's not all. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Thursday, New Year's Eve Thursday. Hope you're all doing well. Boy, it's been a busy week. End of month, end of year, all the resolutions and revelations and reviews and retrospectives and anything else that starts with an RE that isn't Resident Evil. But here we are once again into the wonderful world of off-brand TED Talks. I've got a little bit of a preamble to go into before this episode. So before I get to that, who's all joining me today on this wonderful adventure into fashion? Oh. Fun Time Bats, hello. Jaeger Pony, hello. Old Guy Gamer, hello. Mike R, hello. Let's see. Burgid, hello. Mr. E, hello. Keeverdam, hello. Raziel, hello. And then chat jump as Ortho does. Jamie Melquist, hello. Zeke Weiss, hello. Deco, hello. Swirl Blue, hello. The Useless Rebel, hello. Jeanette E, Hellis, hello. Frosted Glass, hello. Mike Savage, Blarg. Chicago Mike, hello. Twisted Skipster, hello. And Jonathan Peterson, hello. Green Death, hello. Ryan R, hello. Emperor W.R. Costin, hello. And anybody else out there in the future or who are lurking, Attack Alpaca, hello. Blake Hanley, hello. All right, so the subject of tonight's episode, fighting colorism with fashion. Okay, so I'm going to give my baseline boilerplate understanding of the concept of colorism, just so everybody knows where I'm coming from before we get into this, because as always, I have not watched this, so I don't know what our speaker is going to say. So this is my general understanding of the concept of colorism. All right. So unlike racism, which is an interracial demographic discriminatory ideology, colorism is a intra-racial demographic discriminatory ideology. In simple terms, it means that within your own racial demographic, you value, specifically because of the name, the gradient of one's skin tone, either as more or less attractive / desirable and or reflective of someone else's value or character or something within your own racial demographic. It could also refer to and or certain physical characteristics. And just as an example, for my birthday this year, my sister got me the entire series of the show Homicide: Life on the Street from the 90s, which is one of my favorite shows of all time, next to The Shield. And there's this plot line early in the series where one of the main characters, Al Giardello, is a friend of his on the force, is trying to set him up on a date with a pretty lady that she knows. And she thinks they'd get along, first and foremost, because, well, they're both black. And Al Giardello is kind of like, played by Yaphet Kotto. He says, that kind of woman would never go for me. And she's like, why wouldn't she? I mean, you're great. She's great. And he's like, black women don't want a guy with a nose as thick as mine, with skin as dark as mine, with lips as thick as mine, that kind of thing. And so that was a sort of example of what colorism could be as well, from, pop culture, let's say. So that is my understanding of the concept of colorism. So it is discrimination within your own racial demographic over certain racial characteristics. Okay. How is that going to be mitigated by fashion? I have absolutely no idea, but I am fascinated to find out, and you will, along with me, find out how that works, apparently. Anthrax Allen, hello. Johnny Hellcat, hello. And let's see, anybody else that I missed? Neon Leon, hello. Assassin of the Gray, hello. Pie Guy 07, hello. I think that's everyone I saw. If I missed you, I do apologize, but let's get into it. This one clocks in at just under 9 minutes, so it's relatively brief. We'll see how long that takes us. But even if it doesn't take us that long, that just means we're that much closer to celebrating the new year soon, tomorrow night. Anyway. All right, everyone. Get your bingo cards ready. We're using bingo card B tonight. And if you want to take part in the poll that determines the bingo card for any particular episode of TED Excellence, be sure to follow me on Twitter. And with that, I will start off with a few seconds for sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear this, and then we will proceed. Okay, did you hear the applause there? If you heard the applause, let me know. Megan Ring, hello. Spittlebuggies, hello. It says, I'm a little late. Well, is that like being a little dead? Let's see. Yep, says Gmail Quest. Heard it, says Jeanette. Heard it, says Kieverdam. Sounds good, Scribelight, says my car. All right, so we have TEDx from Detroit. And this is Deirdre, depending on how you say it, Roberson. Okay.
The most impactful person of my life.
Whoa, wait a second. Who's Vic Strecker? Did they not change their cue card for the right speaker? Oh, that's got to be embarrassing. Okay, sorry. The most impactful what now?
Person of my life.
The most impactful person of your life. Okay.
Was my grandfather.
Okay.
He was an amazing man.
Yes.
He was a great father to my mother and her 2 siblings.
Sorry for the pause game again. I cannot help but notice her shirt. For those of you listening at home or in the car, she's wearing a shirt which at the very bottom says melanin, and then above it, I'm no chemistry major, but I can only assume it is the chemical diagram for melanin. So, okay. Just putting that out there. I have no idea. That's a big microphone too.
A committed husband, a veteran, and the epitome of a hard worker.
Okay.
2 things he really loved were his Lincoln cars and his hats from Henry the Hatter in downtown Detroit.
Okay, well, we already have on the board bingo card. We've got childhood or family anecdote. Let's get that on the board there. Circle in that one. And likewise, we'll circle free space. Let's go over the card real quick so we know what we're looking for. Anecdote that probably never happened. Self-vilification or wretchedness. Systemic institutional. Weightless example. Word salad. Leaves out vital context. Collectivizes own demographic. I'll be surprised if we don't get there at some point. White supremacy, a list, and again, it has to be a formal list. They can't just like start listing off things. It has to be like part of the presentation. I'm going to give you 3 rules, etc. I've made that call. It has to be a very specific official list. Privilege, sales pitch for product or service, plays victim, attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase, wage gap, patriarchy, feminism, mind reading assumes motives, diversity, equity, and or inclusion, marginalize marginalization, make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason, and it is that last caveat you have to be careful for, contradicts own point or argument, benevolent condescension, and lastly, microaggression, unconscious bias. So far on the board, we have free space, childhood or family anecdote. Okay, your grandfather was great, and...
But what he loved more than anything was his granddaughters.
Okay.
Every summer when we were little, we would pack up the car in Detroit and drive down to Ohio to stay with him and my grandmother.
Okay.
It was our second home filled with love and adventure.
Uh-huh.
My grandmother was the chef, and she would prepare the best meals every day.
Okay, family biography is interesting. Are we going to get to introduction, sort of the opening thesis statement kind of deal?
One day, my grandmother was out, and my grandfather was in charge of making us dinner.
Okay.
So he placed little white saucers right in front of us.
Uh-huh.
What was on the menu? Green beans. Not a side dish of green beans, just green beans.
Okay.
The only thing I can think in my 7-year-old mind was yuck. It was a hard no for me.
Uh-huh.
But my grandfather had a way of convincing us the way only he could. See, for as long as I could remember, my grandfather would tell us how beautiful we were. So he said, if we wanted to stay beautiful and grow strong, we had to eat our green beans.
It sounds like she's saying green bings. I don't know if that's just a accent thing or something. That's what it sounds like to me. Anyway.
And if we did, we'd grow up to be beautiful, just like Janet Jackson.
Yeah, well, let's see. What was it? The phrase for my grandfather, my dad's dad, when it was anything that was healthy and or something I thought was yucky, he said, "Eat it; it'll put hair on your chest." And that was the motivator for me to eat, my vegetables or something. So everybody's got their thing, I suppose.
So of course we scarfed them down, but just to sweeten the deal, my grandfather went to the freezer and gave us all a side of orange sherbet ice cream.
This is okay. And
to this day, it is one of the most memorable meals of my life. Not only because of what we ate, but because of what he told to us. When I got up from that table at 7 years old, I was sure of two things.
Oh, two things. Well, I'll take that. You know what? Two makes a list. My brain is starting to drift, so I'll take that over anything else. Sure, okay.
Green beans and orange sherbet ice cream is a terrible combination. And that I was beautiful.
Okay. Well, let's see. Memorable meals. This is, it's the TEDx's fault. My most memorable meal. I was taking a trip with my mother and my sister on a train heading to go see my relatives, and we were heading south. And we had in the diner car. I was about, what was I, like 8 or 9 years old or something like that. And it was the very first time I'd ever had prime rib. It was prime rib, green beans, mashed potatoes, and a chocolate eclair for dessert. 2 or 3 of these things are like the prime rib and the eclair was something I'd never had before at that point in my life. And so I'm eating the best tasting steak I'd ever had with mashed potatoes. It was like, it was almost like Thanksgiving dinner. I'm sitting there with my mom, my sister. I'm going on a trip, and out the window, I got the window seat. I'm looking out the window, and the sun is setting below the mountains as we're going on a train, and it's all very, soothing. It was the best meal I ever had. It was the most beautiful and relaxing meal ever. It has nothing to do with fashion, but, since we're talking about food, and I'm suddenly very hungry. There you go.
Unfortunately, I would grow up to find the world outside my grandparents' home was very different.
Yes, I can imagine it would be. The world outside my apartment right now is very different. Oh, you mean that you didn't have a bunch of people telling you were beautiful all the time? Yeah, I don't have that either. So, well, I guess we both belong to the same club.
It made me question things I had come to know about myself.
Then you didn't know them about yourself. If you had to question them, then you didn't know. Okay.
Near the top of that list was whether my dark skin was really beautiful. Time and time again, the world told me that I wasn't, even though my grandfather told me every time.
What constitutes the world in this iteration of things?
I remember being called names by classmates and even friends. I remember the incredibly backhanded compliment, "You're pretty for a dark-skinned girl," as if dark and pretty couldn't exist together.
Yeah, no, I get you. I can, project the notion. Sure. Okay. And so you overcame this because it's irrelevant, right?
Time and time again, the world told me that I wasn't beautiful.
The world. You're extrapolating things people you knew and even friends of yours said as the world. Okay, well, when you're a kid, everything seems bigger than it probably really is as far as stress and anxiety and everything else. Okay, so how did you combat this?
So those experiences ignited a passion in me to start a fashion brand, to change the way that people view darker skin tones, and to empower the way we feel about ourselves.
What? Please, okay, I had thought it was just a, shirt for subject matter's sake, but Please do not tell me that your fashion line is made up of basic t-shirts with the chemical diagram for melanin on them. Because, by the way, I have a Teespring store, link in the description, with t-shirts of my own and coffee mugs and a couple other things. Anyway. Okay, a fashion line. Okay, I'm holding off on sales pitch for product or service, even though obviously we're already there. I'll circle that eventually. Okay, how is your fashion line going to instill a sense of, I don't know, aesthetic confidence in people? I can't wait to hear this one. Thank you, Jeanette E. Hellis. Okay, quote, you're pretty for a black girl, unquote. I've never gotten that before. I know I'm not that pretty, but what does that even mean? What do you mean you're not that? Okay. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm not hitting on you here or nothing, but you have got some stems on you, girl. I gotta say, just saying. You know, if the only thing I ever really see of you in your avatar, you got some nice legs. I don't have to tell you. I'm probably being sexist or something. Thank you. I think Zero Depressive. I feel nothing she will ever do will fill the void inside of her. That could also be true. I'm curious to find out as we proceed, even though it's a relatively, we're already almost halfway through this thing, how much more of insight into her psychology we're going to get on this red carpet. Okay, so you started a clothing line to combat people's self-esteem issues, which probably has more to do with your self-esteem issues, but okay. And then?
I started a fashion brand because I believe that fashion could be used to send a powerful message.
You started a fashion brand to send a powerful message. Okay. You didn't start a fashion brand to sell product. Okay, well, I'm waiting for the how. Or at least, how do you see your fashion brand as delivering a powerful message that isn't just a marketing scheme?
And that message that I want to send to society
Yes.
is that all shades of skin are beautiful and all shades of skin should be celebrated.
Okay. Again, how?
Especially those that fashion, beauty, media, and society deem unworthy every single day.
Every single day? Okay, who is unworthy in the media, fashion, and so on every single day?
So why is this happening?
Why is what happening? You starting a fashion brand to ostensibly take advantage of people's low self-esteem issues, or the fashion industry telling people they're unworthy every single day? Well, I guess that second one I'm more curious about than anything else. But let's go to the card real quick, because I think plays victim. I think that's a safe bet. So circle in that one. And just because we've already basically gotten there, sales pitch for product or service. Circle in that one. Okay. All right. So, if by the end of this she doesn't actually use the phrases, I could see marginalized marginalization in aggregate from her statement about people being unworthy every single day. But we'll wait and see. So far I have a list, sales pitch, plays victim, free space, and childhood or family anecdote. Okay.
There are many reasons, but the one we need to talk about today is colorism.
Okay, colorism. Tell me about colorism.
Colorism is discrimination against people with a darker skin tone.
Well, it could be, but it could just be, again, valuing certain racial characteristics higher or lower in value than others. Doesn't necessarily mean, okay, anyway, yes. Okay, maybe in your case. Maybe in your case.
Typically among people of the same ethnic group.
Ethnic group, racial demographic, yes, sure. Okay, in general terms.
Now, before I dive into colorism, I want to state that it is a byproduct of racism.
It's more like the kissing cousin of racism. But it's not a byproduct. It's, yeah, okay. Scanner Daphne, thank you so much. Is she really mad because Chad didn't ask her to the prom? I don't know. I mean, I don't generally just weigh the attractiveness on someone completely on physicality, but just physically speaking, she looks pretty cute to me. I don't know. But, maybe I'm just easy like that. I don't know. You tell me.
People who practice colorism believe that the closer your skin tone is to whiteness, the better you are, the smarter you are, the more aesthetically pleasing you are.
Not necessarily. I have heard in person certain people value darker skin colors amongst their, demographic, because in their minds, it reflects someone who is closer to the, let's say, countries of origin for their peoples. And therefore that makes them, higher in stature or something. It could go either way. It really depends on the person and what exactly they're valuing over something else. So maybe, I don't know if there are any statistics on such a thing, but it's not necessarily so that lighter is better and darker is bad. It could be the other way around, depending on how much of an internal racist you are, I suppose.
And I know you're probably sitting there thinking, like, not me, or do people in companies really do this?
Do people in companies? What? Is this... Are we talking about corporate stuff now? What?
First, I'd say implicit bias is real.
Implicit bias. Well, that's, I'll take that as microaggressions, unconscious bias. That's effectively the same thing. So circling that one on the board. Implicit bias is real. Yes, I suppose it is. Oh, and for those of you listening at home, she's got a card up on the screen now, a whole bunch of magazine covers from Vogue, which have all been chosen, I'm sure, very explicitly, because the majority of them, at least there's one in there, have light-skinned and or white women on the covers. But right there in the middle, I think that's a black woman, so I don't know.
We have attitudes toward people or associate stereotypes with them without our conscious knowledge.
Yeah, depending on what we're talking about, sure. Everybody does it in one way, shape, or form, some more extreme than others. Yes, okay.
Second, the next time you're scrolling down your timeline of some of your favorite products or some of the biggest fashion brands, count how many dark-skinned people you see.
Why? Am I making a quota system for... Okay, anyway, thank you. Zero Depressive again. Is colorism a unilaterally agreed upon concept? It is a phenomenon that has been documented many times, yes. And it's been given that name in the absence of a better name. Like I said, it is a intra-racial or ethnic demographic discriminatory ideology that certain physical characteristics within one's own demographic are more valued or more attractive than others. So yes, it is a concept that is relatively well known and has been seen before. I don't know as to the accuracy of the term or anything else, but it has been described to me as such, and I've either heard of or in real life seen or heard from people examples that would reflect that. So yes. Thank you, Point Curation. Hope everyone has had a decent year and that the next year is much better. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Scribe, for being great and bringing together wonderful people. Wish all peace in 21. Well, thank you, Point Curation. And once again, as I always forget to, please post your Etsy link for your artwork into the chat so I can highlight it. Because Point Curation does original artwork and he offers it for sale at a ridiculous discount for our viewers and just in general. So you should take a look. Okay. So anyway, you were saying.
Colorism is prevalent in fashion, media, and representation.
Okay, it is everywhere. And your fashion line combats it how?
But it also has concrete punishing consequences.
Uh-huh.
See, just like racism, colorism is a system.
Uh-huh. Okay, it's not an ideology, it's a system. Okay, well, tell me about the system of colorism then.
Colorism affects self-concept, prescient information, attraction,
What?
and affiliation.
Well, okay, you mean self-consciences, self-esteem, self-image? Okay, I'm getting confused. When do we get to the part where fashion is going to combat colorism? Because we're now 5 minutes in to an 8-minute presentation, and I still haven't heard how your fashion line is going to change people's minds about a system that is apparently endemic to the fashion industry. So,
but it also impacts upward mobility.
Mike R brings up a good point in the chat. Systemic, yes, it is a system. Systemic institutional on the board.
People with darker skin tones receive fewer job opportunities, and when they do get the job, they're paid less, fewer housing opportunities, and people of darker skin tones are incarcerated at higher rates.
I'd love for you to bring up some statistics to show that, but either way, wage gap, circling that, because we're talking about different pay rates. Whether that is accurate or not, I couldn't tell you because she's not telling us. So there we go. Oh, and by the way, attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. Colorism is not a new buzzword, unfortunately. It is a well-known thing. I think one of the earliest videos I did talked about this. What was it called? It was something noir. It was like sexism noir or something. I forget. It was one of the earliest videos I did on my channel where the subject came up. That was my first real exposure to the concept of colorism. So, misogynoir. That's what it was, because it was misogyny mixed with noir. So it was specifically being misogynistic against Black women. That's what it was. Hating Black women. That's what it was. And it talked about colorism in there as well. Okay.
In a study published in 2018 by LSP Monk, after taking into account gender and level of education, Monk found that African Americans had a 36% chance of being arrested in their lifetimes.
A 36% chance, okay. And I need something to compare that with. And also, we're almost 6 minutes into an 8-minute presentation, and I still haven't heard how your fashion line is going to combat colorism.
And darker skinned African Americans had a 66% chance.
Okay. So not only are the police racist to begin with, but they're also colorists at the same time. So you've got this sort of layered response. Is that what I'm hearing?
The world has criminalized melanin, and so has fashion.
Oh, okay. How many times have you been arrested? I mean, if your complaint was people describing you as, pretty for a dark-skinned girl, then presumably you also have a criminal record now, I'm assuming. And yes, okay, fashion does what again?
Now, as a chemist, I believe it is important I explain where the color of skin comes from.
Why? Why? I mean, I would presume, and I know I'm going out on a limb here, I would presume that being a victim, as you've generally just described yourself, of colorism, your ultimate goal would be to make skin color an effective irrelevancy when assessing someone's value or attractiveness and so on, right? Okay. So, I mean, while it may be a scientific fact about what melanin is made out of or how you get skin colors and so on, why would you want to focus on that? I guess is my question. Let's see. And Mike R, boy, on the spot here. Mind reading assumes motives? Yes, mind reading assumes motives. Yeah. Okay, circling that one on the board as well.
It comes from a compound called melanin.
Yes. Yes. You have 2.5 minutes left to tell me how your fashion line is going to combat colorism.
Now, we all have, melanin is produced by cells called melanocytes.
Yes.
Now, we all have melanocytes that produce melanin.
Yes.
But people of darker skin tones produce more melanin. Specifically, they produce a lot more eumelanin.
And?
One of the huge ironies of fashion is that while Black people are often discriminated against and left out, Black culture is used as a source of inspiration for so much of our fashion.
Okay, and this is me talking from a point of, admitted ignorance. I do not know what the makeup of the fashion industry is, or the racial population therein, or who the biggest stars are, etc. So I don't know how much of this is true or not, because she hasn't given us any information on that. But taking her word for it, okay. And so now, what? No one can use or be inspired by Black culture if they're not Black? Are we going for cultural appropriation in the less than 2 minutes that you have to go?
Intentional brands that are determined to make change can push us to be better and to do better. They have the power to bridge the gap of fashion's love of Black culture and fashion's discrimination and lack of respect for Black people.
Give me an example. I mean, I'm sure there are some. Give me an example of what you're talking about. You're not going to, I know. And how does your fashion line buck that trend? I mean, what is it that you're doing? If you're not going to give us examples of what you're talking about, at least tell us how your fashion line goes against the grain, so I have at least something I can dig my teeth into here.
In the book, How Brands Become Icons by Douglas B. Holt, he writes, iconic brands function like culture activists, encouraging people to think differently about themselves. The most powerful iconic brands are prescient, addressing the leading edges of culture change.
Is your fashion brand iconic? Is that what you're trying to tell us? Can you at least give us the name? What is the name of your fashion brand? Because you've got less than a minute to go, or maybe a little bit more than a minute. And I'm still waiting to hear how your fashion brand is going to send a message and make change.
See, these brands don't simply evoke benefits,
what brands?
Personalities, or emotions.
What brands?
Rather, they're myths, prod people to reconsider accepted ideas about themselves.
Okay, the only brand you're showing is Motown. I guess Motown was also a fashion statement, depending on the stars wearing whatever, but it was more a music thing. What? What are we talking about?
When I first heard that quote, I was immediately consumed.
That was a quote?
The mission I had set out to accomplish for eumelanin was validated.
What? What mission?
I believe that we have to be intentional in our designs.
What?
What we include in them, but also what we leave out.
Word salad. Word salad.
Because by telling people what is acceptable and who is acceptable, we are also telling them who is not.
And your fashion line mitigates all of this? How?
Before I go, I want to leave you with a couple of lines from my favorite poem by Danielle Milton that I had found years ago.
Okay.
It helped me love myself when it seemed the world did not.
I mean, just critiquing the presentation all around, and we're almost done with it. Boy, this went by quick. Yeah, not even fulfilling the promise of the title at all.
In this poem, I can still hear my grandfather's voice. Because your blackness was knit together by God himself. Your kinky roots were wound together by the creator of the universe. And your full dark chocolate lips and eyes were sculpted and crafted by the master craftsman.
All of which should be considered as irrelevant and not inherently divine, since we're all supposed to like people for who they are and not what they look like, right? I mean, glorifying any one type of physical feature as godly as compared to what? Others? What were you talking about before about raising some up also tells you who are, you know, not thought of well or whatever? I'm obviously misquoting, but this is one of your favorite quotes. Doesn't that, you know, sort of in sentiment go completely against the message you've been telling us this entire time a little bit?
God could not dream a sweeter dream than you.
Oh.
So don't let them tell you otherwise.
Who's they?
Thank you.
That was it. That was... Okay. I have to ask, was her shirt part of her fashion line? I mean, I have to assume so, because she said, I'm a chemist, and this is what causes skin color to be skin color. And it did what? It was going to do what? What message was it going to send? There wasn't even a consistent message in this entire... Okay. Contradicts own point or argument. Circling that one. And yeah, I understand this is a relatively brief one tonight, guys. I didn't think it'd be that brief. I thought it'd be a little bit more dense of subject matter, but no. But, you know, sometimes with TEDx, you never know. All right, well, it is what it is. So we're going to move on to the wonderful world of the bingo card. So let me get this set up here. This is where we're at right now. Holy cats, we are possibly close to a bingo. I'll go over it once myself, see what I think, and then if there are any squares left to be circled that you have arguments for, keep those in mind. Anecdote that probably never happened. Nothing that she listed sounded completely out of the ordinary. The story about her grandfather, kids making fun of her. I don't know if her not supported by actual information statistical declarations count as anecdotes, but I have a hard time saying absolutely no that it was too perfect, because I don't know. Self-vilification or wretchedness. No, she was definitely trying to build herself up over the course of things. She was not vilifying herself. Weightless example. I mean, I'd almost have to say her fashion line is the weightless example, because she never gave it any weight. She just said, I've created a fashion line to send a powerful message, etc. But she never told us what that message was or how her clothes do that or anything. So yeah, I'm going to circle weightless example, because if her fashion line was meant to be the counterpoint to the fashion industry's philosophy as it stands when it comes to skin color, colorism, whatever, she never told us how it did that. So leaves out vital context. I don't mean to double dip, but again, the very title of the presentation is not fulfilled at all in the course of the presentation. So how do you fight colorism with fashion? She didn't tell us. Collectivize his own demographic. Yep. Did that. I guess that was kind of, you know, inevitable given the subject matter, but, you know, that's just the way it is. White supremacy. Yes. Between the magazine, well, white supremacy. Okay, the reason I hesitate is because the last square before a bingo, and since she didn't say it explicitly. Okay, well, let's see. Lighter skinned is, yeah, it was a byproduct of racism. Yeah, in the fashion industry. Yeah, okay. Now, I didn't have to take too long to convince myself. Yeah, okay. That was definitely a undercurrent of the whole thing, if not a direct message, and therefore...
Bingo.
What? Of course!
We have our first bingo, straight down the middle. And, thank you, tall person. Can't watch live. We'll watch in full later. Happy National Bicarbonate of Soda Day. Everything has a day, doesn't it? Everything gets its day. Bicarbonate of Soda Day. Does baking soda have a day? Wait, is bicarbonate of soda baking soda? I don't know these things. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. Privilege. She never said the word. Well, she did talk about how, lighter skinned people avoided jail, got better pay. So I guess she was talking about, racial privilege, interracial privilege in that sense. Yeah, I don't think I'm too far off the mark with that one. Which also means, oh my God.
Oh, won't somebody please?
Bingo. B-I-N-G-O.
Okay.
Right?
Our second bingo, and yes, as tall person points out, my brain made the connection between bicarbonate of soda and baking soda being the same thing. I made myself sound like a complete idiot there, but hey, it's a day that ends in Y. Thank you, Scanner Daphne. Thanks for all the bingos. To all the Cribbles, have a happy new year. Yes, we are all Scribbles. Cribbles. Okay, that's either like, a potentially derogatory term for someone that has a disability, or you're calling my audience a bunch of babies. So I guess that's on you. Thank you, Scanner. Okay, attempt to coin new buzzword buzz phrase. Nothing in there was new. Colorism is not a new buzzword buzz phrase. She didn't do anything, something I like to call. This wasn't the title of her book or anything like that. So no, that doesn't fly. Patriarchy. I don't think stories about grandpa quite fall into the patriarchy category. Feminism. She talked about fashion, but she didn't dwell too much on gender conflicts. So I don't know if patriarchy or feminism really fall into it. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, it was implied. It was implied, but not said. I might be a stretch. However, I do not think it is a stretch, given everything that you said about the whole colorism and people being discriminated against within their own racial demographic, and some people being thought of as unworthy in the fashion industry, and so on and so forth. So I think marginalization is a pretty easy one.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah.
We have our third bingo. Triple bingo. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. Okay, well, in this case, I didn't. Okay, now I might be stretching here. I might need some. Let's see. Would bringing up fashion in this talk, would that have effectively been a non sequitur? No, that's the problem with this one. She brought up fashion and she talked about statistics, or, what she offered as statistics in fashion. She talked about her shirt. I guess there wasn't no reason for it, but she just didn't connect the dots between what the title promised and the subject matter. So I guess no, she had a reason to bring it up. It was just badly constructed. Nah, I don't think I can do that one. Benevolent condescension. Am I off base in saying I didn't really feel like I was being condescended to? It was just such a poorly constructed argument for whatever she was going for that I don't know. I might need a double check on that. But either way, we've got 3 bingos. So I'm going to call my analysis there. And now it's your guys' turn. If you have arguments for squares to be circled, please put them in the chat now. Please be sure to tag me in your argument so I can see it more clearly amongst everything else. Thank you again, Scattered Athlete. Cribbles was supposed to be Scribbles. $5 typo, but worth every penny. Also, Scribbles, trademark. Thank you, Scanner. Although I think Cribbles Cribbles, if I ever have a baby, well, not me having the baby, but if I am ever the father to a baby, I will have to refer to the baby as Cribbles, at least for the first part of their growing up. Okay, we'll keep that in mind. So we got 2 new terms to use amongst ourselves as inside jokes: cribble or cribbles, and whiteous from last time. Remember whiteous? Oh boy, I can't wait. I can't wait to use that effectively in a statement that's not ironic, or unironic, I guess I should say. All right, so arguments for squares to be circled, frosted glass, scribe light, benevolent condescension, the poem at the end about how beautiful black girls are. Expand on that a little bit. How is that benevolently condescending? Just to make sure. I'm not saying no. I just want to know. Bridget. The yelling tone is a form of condescension used by social activists to make sure they are heard. I don't know if I want to credit someone's voice volume as having a meaning behind it all by itself. I don't know. That might be a little bit of a stretch. But I mean, give me another swing at the bat there, and maybe Spittlebuggies yelling at us throughout makes us feel condescended. Does it? Really? Does that? You guys think so? And I'm not like playing dumb here. It's like maybe it just didn't register to me as something that I thought it was off. Like a lot of TEDxers can raise their voice to be heard or whatever. Is that inherently condescending, you think? Mr. E. Scribelight, the bringing up of a molecule, melanin, without explaining its significance means she brought up molecular chemistry for no reason. Ooh, that is a good one. Yeah, she never connected that to anything else or what that had to do with anything, whether it was colorism or fashion. So you're correct. I accept that. That's a good one. Thank you, Mr. E. Let me refresh the bingo card and not refresh my control panel, which would kick me out of the show, which would be just hilarious. Something I'd never do, by the way. Let's see. Zeke Weiss. I thought it was bad audio balance with the echo of the room. Now, I mean, I did equalize the sound of the presentation. There was a little bit of background noise that I cut out, but I mean, you're effectively hearing it as it is. So, if I have everybody in the room in the chat here telling me that raising your voice is inherently condescending, maybe, but I didn't get that. It didn't even register to me as a possibility. It's more of an attitude thing than it is a volume thing, I guess. Let's see. Assassin the Gray, Scribe Light, Q, Gunnery Sergeant Arlie Ermies, WTF. I don't know if it was a WTF. It was just like I said, it was just a badly constructed presentation. The presentation did not fulfill the title's promise. She didn't connect these disparate ideas one to another in a way that made any sense. So, like I say, I don't know if that's a WTF because I understood each part she was presenting more or less. She just didn't connect them to one another. So, Ebony Williams, Scribe Light, was she talking specifically about black women being discriminated against? If so, feminism. The examples she used, specifically the fashion industry, she was highlighting women as her examples, but I don't know if it was about women specifically. And again, that's sort of an artifact of how badly constructed this was. She was talking about just, colorism, discrimination within one's own ethnic or racial demographic, but then she used herself as an example, which doesn't necessarily mean she was talking specifically or only about black women. I don't know. Maybe, but not really. And again, I'm really iffy on that because it's the last square before another bingo. So if anybody has, and Ebony, if you've got one as well, if you have a really good argument to say that there was feminism was an intentional part of this, I mean, just bringing up women or men in a presentation doesn't necessarily mean patriarchy or feminism. So, I don't know. I'm a little iffy. Jeanette, coming from someone who kind of hears this a lot and tones it out, it just seems more like an ego boost. Or the volume thing, or maybe I'm misunderstanding. I'm losing context here. Tony Giff. You Melanin is the name of her company. Oh. Okay. Fortunately, I guess I already circled sales pitch for product or service. Did she ever say that? Did she ever say? Did I miss that? Did she name that as the name of her brand? I am baffled. This was very badly done. This was badly done. Jeanette, yeah, it just felt like she needed to say something about why this is supposedly an issue. Well, I think that goes into playing victim in one sense. So I don't know if that's necessarily condescending. I don't know. It's a rough one for me. Ebony Williams, the picture of the little girls at the end. See, again, with her opening anecdote about how her grandfather was telling all of her granddaughters, etc., and then she closes with it, I can see, in a sort of a bad essay sense, the bookending of her presentation with the same kind of concept, echoing, etc., building up self-esteem over your inherent beauty, that kind of thing. Is that feminism, or is she just hearkening back to the incident that sort of propelled her to have this self-esteem issue? Again, I don't know that it is a feminist message so much as it is a looking at a part of her psyche sort of thing. I'm not trying to be overly critical here. I just want to make sure that I'm not being too generous. Again, last square before a bingo, so I just want to make sure. Kiefer Dam, benevolent condescension. She's condescending to black girls, treating them like children who need to be told God made them perfectly, said by Frost. Okay. 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 I am on the fence for that one. So benevolent condescension, guys. Is her sort of attempt at uplifting black girls effectively condescending and calling them, fragile or something? They need this. They can't build themselves up without this kind of encouragement. Is that benevolent condescension? I might be answering my own question. If you think so, just to get you guys in on this a little bit, put a 1 in the chat. If you do not think so, put a 2. So 1, yes, that is a benevolent condescension, or 2, no, it is not. And I will count up the votes. Do not vote more than once. I'll know it. Frosted Glass says yes. Well, yes isn't a 1. There you go. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, especially since she built a business around it. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yep, no, yep, I agree. I agree. And since I agree, this happened.
Bingo.
What?
Of course!
Bingo, quadruple bingo. Okay, I will get, since this ended a lot quicker than I thought it would, so I'll give until about the top of the hour for any other arguments to be given for squares to be circled. I'm open to anything that's remaining. Programming note, per usual, on Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, here on this channel, I'll be doing the Sunday stream on a topic yet to be selected. It might be a year in review kind of thing. It might be Cheetos. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. I'm not thinking much over the next couple of days because, well, it's the new year and I have a busy day tomorrow as well because I have to do a bunch of billing stuff and work on New Year's Eve because, life in the big city, so to speak. Let's see. One more thing here. Assassin of the Gray, Scribelight. The WTF is for why is she babbling and wasting the audience's time, unable to string even basic points together. I get that. Now, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know. It didn't make me go WTF. It just made me confused in not an overdramatic way. Because I could see that this wasn't very well put together. And I kind of felt bad for her in a way because she was obviously very passionate about the subject and it was just not a very effective presentation. And so maybe I'm just sympathizing too much. I don't know. Point Curation, thanks so much. If anyone would like some art for Christmas, please email me and I'd be happy to send you some. Well, There you go, guys. Email point curation. Let's see. Jeanette E. Hellis. Oh, that's Mr. Simmons. When I was just younger, I'd never gotten an insult before. Most people I've had crushes on never really spoke to me like that. Big nothing burger now that I hear it more. Yeah, I mean, I could see as a kid, I mean, what kid of us, except for maybe Ranting Monkey, wasn't made fun of in some way, shape, or form when we were kids? And it hits you pretty hard when you're a kid because you don't know how to handle that stuff, right? You sort of internalize it very easily because you don't have any experience to say otherwise. Your self-esteem is still maturing and so on and so forth. So, you know, being called four eyes, several other terms that aren't even worth mentioning here when I was a kid. Yeah, no, everybody gets made fun of. It all depends on how you decide to handle it. Either you can dwell on it your entire life and build a fashion brand around it, which, I mean, maybe she's successful at it. I don't know. Or you can just sort of say, it doesn't matter what people think. It's more important to say what I think of myself and work on that. So anyway, life lessons. And let's see, Bridget, subscribe. Was this talk free advertising? Is this a Hive diversity situation where you are the advertising? I guess. I mean, I didn't look at the number of views that the original video had, but it may be the case that by the time that my audience decides to take part in watching this episode, they will have heard of her brand more through my broadcast than her own TEDx talk. And what does that tell you? But anyway, everyone, I think I'm going to call it here. It was a lot shorter than I thought it would be. That has never been a thing said to me by a woman in private time, just to cover the bases there. But it is a TEDx. It is the last TEDx of 2021. And I'd just like to take a moment to thank you all for joining me for this momentous year in not only TED Excellence, but also in my channel's history, as I hit 5,000 subscribers a couple of months ago. And then by the magic of a couple of true crime videos, have now gone over 6,000 subscribers. I hit my 5th year anniversary in October. It's been an amazing 5 years. We'll see how much longer I can go in this endeavor. Something else I've never said in intimate moments to women before, but you know what I say. And I want to thank you guys, all of you, for joining me for this show. All of you regulars, everybody knows your name. Welcome to Cheers. It's nice to see you guys every week. And I really appreciate all of the participation, all of the argumentation, all of the generosity, both, in your donations and also in your sharing the stream and talking about it and taking part and just making this worthwhile for me on top of just the interesting things we talk about once a week. As far as what I'm going to do with the channel in the new year, well, as soon as I get the gumption back again and I find a subject that I want to cover, I intend at some point to do another true crime video. I have also been meaning to, and I hopefully will, in the near future, start up doing regular Familiar with the Matter episodes, maybe one a month. I'm going to I'm going to aim for that going forward a little bit. And beyond all that, another programming note, I will be guest hosting on the AAA stream over on Sinatra Says' channel tomorrow, Friday, the 31st, at, I think it's 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So go check me out there. I'll be taking over because Drunken Uncle is going to be off being a drunken uncle somewhere. But with that, everyone, after that long soliloquy of this, that, and the other, thank you all again for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very little to do. Everyone, thank you so much for your generosity and your donations. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your participation and your argumentation in making these TEDx's so much more informative and entertaining than they would be all by themselves. And with that, everyone, I hope you're all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon. Hope you had a happy holiday. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Hope you have a safe and terrific New Year. And I will see you on the other side. Take care, everyone. See you next time.